I am not upset that you lied to me, I am upset that from now on I cannot believe you. It is not a lack of love, but a lack of friendship that makes unhappy marriages. And those who were seen dancing were thought to be insane by those who could not hear the music. Sometimes people don't want to hear the truth because they don't want their illusions destroyed. The earth has a skin, and that skin has diseases. One of its diseases is called man. In heaven, all the interesting people are missing. After coming into contact with a religious man, I always feel I must wash my hands. Talking much about oneself can also be a means to conceal oneself. Madness is something rare in individuals, but in groups, parties, peoples, and ages, it is the rule. Is man merely a mistake of God's? Or God merely a mistake of man? Cynicism is the only form in which base souls approach honesty. You have your way. I have my way. As for the right way, the correct way, and the only way, it does not exist. The surest way to corrupt a youth is to instruct him to hold in higher esteem those who think alike than those who think differently. But the worst enemy you can meet will always be yourself. You lie in wait for yourself in caverns and forests, lonely one, you are going the way to yourself. And your way goes past yourself, and past your 7 devils. You will be a heretic to yourself, and witch and soothsayer and fool and doubter and unholy one and villain. You must be ready to burn yourself in your own flame. How could you become new, if you had not first become ashes? The advantage of a bad memory is that one enjoys several times the same good things for the first time. The thought of suicide is a great consolation. By means of it one gets through many a dark night. Thoughts are the shadows of our feelings, always darker, emptier, and simpler. There are 2 different types of people in the world, those who want to know, and those who want to believe. Perhaps I know best why it is man alone who laughs. He alone suffers so deeply that he had to invent laughter. The most perfidious way of harming a cause consists of defending it deliberately with faulty arguments. They call you heartless, but you have a heart, and I love you for being ashamed to show it. Most people are far too much occupied with themselves to be malicious. Family love is messy, clinging, and of an annoying, repetitive pattern, like bad wallpaper. There is always some madness in love. But there is also always some reason in madness. One ought to hold on to one's heart, for if one lets it go, one soon loses control of the head too. All I need is a sheet of paper and something to write with, and then I can turn the world upside down. The Christian resolution to find the world ugly and bad has made the world ugly and bad. Your only problem, perhaps, is that you scream without letting yourself cry. There is a false saying, how can someone who can't save himself save others? Supposing I have the key to your chains, why should your lock and my lock be the same? It is hard enough to remember my opinions, without also remembering my reasons for them. Every deep thinker is more afraid of being understood than of being misunderstood. A casual stroll through the lunatic asylum shows that faith does not prove anything. In Christianity, neither morality nor religion come into contact with reality at any point. A politician divides mankind into 2 classes, tools and enemies. We should consider every day lost on which we have not danced at least once. There is not enough love and goodness in the world to permit giving any of it away to imaginary beings. There is more wisdom in your body than in your deepest philosophy. I know of no better life purpose than to perish in attempting the great and the impossible. He who would learn to fly one day must first learn to walk and run and climb and dance. One cannot fly into flying. Nothing on earth consumes a man more quickly than the passion of resentment. He who climbs upon the highest mountains laughs at all tragedies, real or imaginary. The spiritualization of sensuality is called love. It is a great triumph over Christianity. I have learned to walk, since then I have run. I have learned to fly, since then I do not have to be pushed in order to move. Now I am nimble, now I fly, now I see myself under myself, now a God dances within me. The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. If you try it, you will be lonely often, and sometimes frightened. But no price is too high to pay for the privilege of owning yourself. It is impossible to suffer without making someone pay for it. Every complaint already contains revenge. It is not when truth is dirty, but when it is shallow, that the lover of knowledge is reluctant to step into its waters. It is nobler to declare oneself wrong than to insist on being right, especially when one is right. Dancing in all its forms cannot be excluded from the curriculum of all noble education, dancing with the feet, with ideas, with words, and, need I add that one must also be able to dance with the pen. There will always be rocks in the road ahead of us. They will be stumbling blocks or stepping stones, it all depends on how you use them. The man of knowledge must be able not only to love his enemies but also to hate his friends. God is dead. God remains dead. And we have killed him. How shall we comfort ourselves, the murderers of all murderers? What was holiest and mightiest of all that the world has yet owned has bled to death under our knives. Who will wipe this blood off us? What water is there for us to clean ourselves? What festivals of atonement, what sacred games shall we have to invent? Is not the greatness of this deed too great for us? Must we ourselves not become God simply to appear worthy of it? Hope, in reality, is the worst of all evils because it prolongs the torments of man. My solitude doesn't depend on the presence or absence of people, on the contrary, I hate who steals my solitude without, in exchange, offering me true company. It is my ambition to say in 10 sentences what others say in a whole book. For art to exist, for any sort of aesthetic activity or perception to exist, a certain physiological precondition is indispensable: intoxication. He who cannot put his thoughts on ice should not enter into the heat of dispute. Which quotation do you like the most? Don't forget to subscribe.